Welcome to Children Outdoors. There's a lot to learn. This is a presentation of the Seqour Youth Development Initiative. I'm Peter Witt, a professor emeritus at Texas A&M University, and pleased to be with you today. Richard Louve's Last Child in the Woods has been a major impetus for the rediscovery of the importance of nature and outdoor settings in the lives of children and youth. In this webinar, we're going to discuss three topics: barriers to kids outdoors, the current state of kids' connection to nature, and the benefits of this nature connection. So why aren't kids outside more? Well, one reason is overscheduling. Kids today lead very busy lives. They're involved in activity after activity after activity. They often don't have free time to play outdoors or even play indoors. While youth sports participation is increased, there has been less time for unstructured play. And ironically, obesity rates, which we'll discuss later, have also increased over the same time period. In other words, there's a lot of sedentary activity in addition to youth sports. That sedentary activity probably involved with electronic media. There's also the fear of strangers, or what's been called stranger danger. However, the media has sensationalized many of these safety issues. Kidnapping statistics, for example, have in fact been stable over the last 15 years. That doesn't mean there aren't dangers, but the dangers are been blown out of proportion on many occasions by media reports. In addition, our educational emphasis on technology has influenced the way we live. Children and youth, when they go to school, are exposed constantly to the use of technology. And when they come home, technology is an ever-present force in their daily lives. This screens out and sometimes restricts the amount of time that children spend in outdoor nature situations. In addition, there's the fear of litigation. Cities are careful about working with developers on the kinds of open spaces that will be left in housing and other urban developments, for fear that these outdoor spaces will be used in ways that could lead to litigation. And in the same way, youth program providers are often afraid of the kind of litigation that might result from children's use of more free play or outdoor situations. And finally, what this leads to is the lack of urban and suburban places for outdoor nature experiences to take place, and thus kids being outside and communing with nature becomes a less and less priority and probability. So, are kids spending more or less time outside than their parents did when they were kids? None of us are going to be surprised to find out that kids are spending less time outside. Children are spending 40 to 65 hours or more a week attached to electronic media. That electronic media is indoors. Fewer than 1 in 5 children walk or ride a bike to school. They get driven to school, they go on a bus, but they don't get that experience of being outside and in a discovery mode on their way to school. There's an interesting Tide research report which talks about the disappearance of grass stains on children's clothing, another sign of kids spending less time outdoors in unsupervised situations. And fewer kids have recess when they're at school, another sign of the lack of free play and outdoor experiences. Bottom line, today's kids spend less time playing outside than their parents. So we have some concerns. Children know more about Pokemon than nature, and although the current versions of Pokemon are creating opportunities for individuals to interact with buildings and structures and opportunities in their community, it's still in general not a substitute for direct experiences with nature. In fact, kids are still spending a lot of their time indoors. Why? Well, I like to play indoors better because that's where all the electronic outlets are, said one fourth grader from San Diego. Another concern is childhood obesity. Approximately 17%, or 12.7 million, of children and adolescents aged 2 to 19 are obese. Obesity prevalence among children and adolescents has almost tripled since 1980, and 1 in 7 low-income preschool-age children is obese. In addition, it's thought that there's some relationship with the amount of time that children spend indoors and perhaps allergies. The recent increase in children's allergies may be connected. Exposure to indoor air pollution, toxic molds, carbon dioxide, and dust may be highly related to the kinds of allergies that children are showing today. And then there's the problem of the shifting baseline. What does shifting baseline mean? Well, we forget about how things used to be. For example, kids spent a lot more time outdoors and assume that things are now how they've always been. Well, think about cell phone usage and how we go about communicating. In my day, it was a black phone with a rotary dial. That was the normal. Today, it's cell phones. And what does this have to do with youth and nature? Perhaps this slide can help us understand that. In a sense, we've moved from having direct experiences or direct contact or interactions with nature and natural environments. We've moved from there to a number of indirect experiences. For example, zoos, nature centers, museums, and parks. But in many cases, our experiences with nature are simply vicarious. They don't involve contact with actual living organisms or environments, but rather with the image or the representation or the expression of nature in a TV show or a plaything. Direct experiences have many more benefits to them in terms of what kids get out of the out-of-doors than vicarious experiences. And what are some of those benefits? Well, children are happier, healthier, and smarter when they connect with nature. Happier, nature play increases self-esteem, improves psychological health, reduces stress. Children learn self-discipline, and they're more cooperative when they're involved in outdoor nature-related activities. They're also healthier. And finally, they're also smarter. Nature play stimulates creativity and improves problem solving. Children who are involved in more outdoor activities are often smarter in school. There's some other benefits as well. Children who spend time outdoors have an increased sense of place or where they belong in the world and the universe. They can think better about the earth. They can think better about water and air and other living things. And being outdoors in general, our experiences interacting with nature have a stress reduction benefit for everybody, from children to youth, adolescents, and adults. Richard Louv again said it best: healing the broken bond between our young and nature is everyone's self-interest, not only because aesthetics or justice demand it, but also because our mental, physical, and spiritual health depend upon it. So we know that nature-centered experiences are important. They instill wonder and they engender curiosity. These experiences take place in outdoor settings, ranging from backyards to neighborhoods to city parks to wilderness areas. They take the shape of guided activities as well as unstructured nature play in children's everyday lives. In other words, they're very important to development. So what can youth professionals do about all of this? Well, we can increase direct nature experiences. We can include, for example, outdoor components in all after-school programs. We can do things like gardens, deal with programs about bugs, include opportunities for free play, build in sand castles, and much more. We can sponsor weekend field trips. We can include family members that offer opportunities for hikes, nature viewing, and other nature activities. And Louvre proposes another what if. What if parents, grandparents, and kids were to band together to create nature clubs for families? What if this new form of nature networking were to spread as quickly as book clubs and neighborhood watches? We would be well on our way to a true cultural change. We can also think about our own lifestyle, how to model this greater connection with nature. We can increase our own direct contact with nature through our own outdoor activities. We can talk with others about our own nature experiences, thus influencing their own, perhaps, contact with nature experience. And we can surround ourselves with pictures of our own nature experiences and create living spaces with direct views of nature. And here are some possible resources that can help change the amount of nature that you introduce into the programs you offer for children and youth, and perhaps even your own lives. You can freeze this program here in order to capture this particular image. I want to thank Matt Durden, an assistant professor at BYU, who created the original version of this presentation. His presentation has been adapted and added to for this webinar. I hope you've enjoyed today's webinar and you've been inspired to get children outdoors and perhaps even get yourself outdoors. There's a lot to learn about children and nature, but together we can include more nature programming in what we do for children and youth. Thank you. This has been Peter Witt from the Seqour Youth Development Initiative.